What is going on, baseball fans? Welcome to episode 5 of season 2 of This Week in Baseball, presented by Diamond Digest. I am your host, Jordan Lazowski. I don't remember how to count, and it really doesn't matter because the rest of this crew is going to be doing most of the talking tonight, and we've got another wonderful one for you. Callie Tsai making her return to This Week in Baseball, along with Joey Bohley and that guy over there, Scott Bentley. How are we doing tonight, everybody?
I finally return.
I'm going to make that my Twitter name, that guy over there.
That guy over there.
The guy I unfortunately have to deal with as the Detroit Tigers fan, but it's all good.
Your whole fan base would agree with that take.
Oh, boy, would they.
Yeah,
None of them like me.
Not a ton of people love you.
Not a very popular guy in the Sox Twitter world.
I will say I'm a big Scott Bentley fan.
Well,
I watch all the B-Man game recaps.
They are enjoyable. I will say that.
I'm glad.
But yeah, it's nice to have all of you on. It's nice to be back doing this, and we got a great show as usual for everybody. We'll do our usual opening. I'll give you the standings update, but I'll mostly turn it over to this crew to I'm doing great tonight. This crew to give their 60-second recap of what happened around the league this week, and then we'll jump into 7th inning stretch, which if you're a longtime listener, which we hope you are, it's getting some revamps and some updates tonight, where if you thought I had enough power before, I found a way to give myself more, believe it or not. But let's not delay any further. We've got a packed episode. If the season ended today, here's what the standings would look like. In the AL, the East would be won by the Boston Red Sox. The AL Central, the White Sox have found themselves at the top of the division, and the Athletics would win the division out in the AL West. Your two wildcard teams would be the Indians, and then a tie between the Yankees and the Astros currently. Over in the National League, a week after kind of writing off the New York Mets, we find them in first place, even after the rough start they've been going through. The St. Louis Cardinals lead the NL Central, and shockingly, the San Francisco Giants lead the NL West, with your two wildcard teams out there being the Brewers and the Padres. Yes, the Dodgers at current do not find themselves in the playoff picture after their crazy start. Now, I will turn it over to the crew here. I'll let you guys kind of give your initial reactions to these standings, anything you've kind of seen over this week. I think for me, the biggest thing, like it was last week, is what's up with the Giants out in the NL West?
I mean, they shove Laz. That's all it is. And Brandon Crawford has been ridiculous.
With the bat and in their age.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's certainly fair. They've had a pretty hot stretch here, but I don't know if I'd expect them to keep that up.
They're just always a team. Maybe this is just like the negative bias in me, but like they're just always a team that like year in and year out of the 1 year that they got Bart. They're really just a team, no matter what their roster is, like they're going to play, like they're going to show up every day. Like that's never going to be an easy win if you're an opponent, regardless of what that roster looks like. And while I don't expect it to remain that way, I could definitely see them causing a lot more problems than I think people realize coming into the year.
Yeah. And even 2019, they sort of had that late sort of push almost to the playoffs there. They didn't quite get there, but they definitely had some fight in them, even after people wrote them off. So it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out.
Gausman, their offseason work's done really well. Gausman, he's been really good for them. He's arguably been their ace. Letting Smiley go proved to be a smart decision.
Notable non-White Sox Gausman, by the way.
For now, and if the Giants keep this up, I don't think it's going to be notable. It's going to continue to be notable, not White Sox, unfortunately. So, but yeah, he was one of the ones where I'm like, all right, playoff push, just go grab him from the Giants. But if you're doing something right to keep the keep the Dodgers out of the playoff picture, like I wouldn't necessarily change too much.
Everybody.
They've been what?
The Dodgers, that's all that's been keeping them down, injuries.
Yeah. I mean, let's be honest, they're still 2.5 games out. It's not like they're dead in the water by any means, but there's certainly a team when you look at it, it's like we had been talking about them at the start of the season, at least, breaking the all-time season win record and what kind of pace they were on for that. And now all of a sudden we're little over a month in, and we're talking about them not in the playoff picture. So the volatility of baseball continues to reign supreme, I think, is the big key there. Elsewhere, I mean, you're starting to see some norms returning. I think you expected the Mets, the Phillies, and the Braves kind of battle out for the NL East. Yankees continue to ascend. The Red Sox surprisingly still in it. The Royals starting to slide down the AL Central. And the Athletics and Astros kind of finding themselves at the top. Angels, though, at 15 and 18. I think that's another surprise, too.
No, it isn't.
All right, Callie's going to disagree with me. The A's fan Callie won't agree with me on that one, but
being below the Rangers and Mariners is definitely a surprise. But
right.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think the biggest surprise in that division is the Rangers not being 10 games below 500 already. But
yeah, there's 4 teams that are 500 or better in that division.
Mm-hmm.
That's definitely wild. Yeah, and I think for the Central, I think like you said, the Royals starting to slide. I think we kind of all saw it coming. Again, maybe that's the reverse bias in me, but I feel like we all kind of knew. The Twins is obviously a big one. I'm sure we'll talk about that plenty. And then I mean, Cleveland. I mean, credit where credit's due. That offense is just absolutely putrid, but that pitching staff is keeping them around. And I don't know. I mean, I'll talk about it later, I'm sure, but I wouldn't be surprised if they actually put together a pretty decent season.
They're one of those frustrating teams where it's like you can't necessarily write them out as much as you want to, because it seems like every day they find someone else new to kind of bolster that pitching staff and keep them in it. And they're sitting at 18 and 14. Winners of 7 in the last 10.
Jordan Lopez is going to have an MVP campaign.
Wow.
That's a take.
He's having a rough stretch here, ending a couple no-hitters, but other than that,
once he learns how to hit, he's gonna figure it out. He's gonna be good.
That's some positivity from you. I don't know where that's necessarily coming from, but I think the overall arching theme here is, the volatility continues. No one's really pulling away from the pack anywhere. I think the Boston Red Sox probably the closest surprise in all of that. No one's pulling away yet. Makes for some entertaining baseball. But let's jump into Around the League in 60 seconds. That means each of you will get to tell me and the rest of the crew, as well as anyone listening, what are the main highlights from Around the League this week? What are things you want to highlight before we get into 7th inning stretch? We will start with the one who started this show back in the day, Callie Tsai. Give us your 60-second recap for this week.
Seth Brown, he's finally getting playing time, and he's showing why he deserves it. He walked off the Rays a few days ago. He hit a home run off of Tyler Glasnow a couple days ago. He continued his hot streak in that game by driving in a few more runs with a single. He's just an all-around excellent player. He plays good defense. He's got decent speed on the base paths. He's got a really good left-handed bat with a lot of pop in it. He hit 35 home runs or something around that back in 2019 in AAA, and he's shown that he can hit like that in the majors. He's finally getting the opportunity to play over Piscotty, especially now that Chad Pinder, he's injured. He's getting the opportunity, and he's really shown that he deserves to take that right field spot full time.
Callie hears Around the League in 60 seconds and tells me, Jordan, the Oakland A's are my league. Scott, what you got?
I think so. I kind of touched on it in before that in that roundup there, but one of the biggest things for me is the Cleveland baseball team. They've been really one of the most highlighted or one of the most intriguing teams for me, just because I'm a fan of a team in the AL Central, but just the way that division's shaping out is at, no disrespect, but also all the disrespect. Like Cleveland might win the division with a team they didn't want. Like Cleveland literally traded away all their best players and their best player, I should say. They still have J-Ram and stuff, but they literally didn't want this team. They actively tried to make this roster worse. and might just like stumble into a division lead, because I don't see Kansas City maintaining theirs. Chicago, I think, is the biggest threat. I'm not saying they won't win it, but it's just interesting to me that the outlook of the AL Central, and specifically Cleveland, is just mind-boggling to me. And then the other big one is just how historically horrible the Detroit Tigers are 5 years into a rebuild. We are at a negative 68 run differential, and the next worst team is negative 30. So we have almost a 40 run disadvantage, I guess, on the next closest team in run differential. We just hit double-digit wins yesterday. We were the last remaining team to reach double-digit wins. We just got there yesterday. It's really embarrassing, to be honest, how with half a decade into a rebuild, the White Sox and Cubs and Astros all tore theirs down and built it back up again in the time that we've just been a last place team. So it's honestly really embarrassing, and I have no idea why this front office, anybody in the front office, still has a job.
Yeah, I mean, biggest thing there is that you slowly see the pieces coming together, but it's taking forever for them to get there. Which is
I don't want to get too off track because I could just keep going, but like it's like my little sister that knows nothing about baseball could intentionally lose 115 games and take the World Cup every year. That's all we've done for 5 years. We haven't made any trades. We have no, outside of Scooble, we have no people drafted out of the first round. Like, it's not hard to do what they're doing, and it's a complete failure for sure.
Well, I won't push you any harder as the White Sox fan on here. Yeah. I know where you've been. Trust me. I know where you've been. Joey, what you got?
Yeah, so basically this week for me was all about pitching performances. Obviously, we had the 2 no-hitters with Means and Wade Miley, who thought he was going to throw a no-hitter ever, but certainly not me. But even outside of that, like Max Scherzer in 2 games this week threw 16 to third innings, 23 strikeouts, 1 walk, 14 of those strikeouts coming Saturday against the Yankees. And then you've got other guys who had great games too. Plesac pitched well. Dane Dunning had 10 strikeouts on Sunday. I mean, we're just getting all sorts of performances from guys that you wouldn't necessarily even expect it from. Like, this isn't Shane Bieber. Obviously, Max Scherzer is a guy you'd expect it from. But like Zach Eflin absolutely shoved this week. And Brandon Woodruff, obviously, very good pitcher, but always under the radar, always under. So I just wanted to give some of those guys a little shout out. Even Taijuan Walker, too, pitched super well this week. And Adrian Hauser pitching well and hitting a home run. I always love to see that.
I think it's becoming a theme, a very clear theme. Every time we do this and we talk about the recap and we talk through 7th inning stretch and what we're watching next week, it feels like everything's pitching based. It's like, here's the next pitcher who's been a stud this year. Oh, and guess what? We're talking about another no-hitter. We've had 5 episodes of this, and I think 4 of them we're talking about no-hitters. Like, this has truly been one of the craziest starts in terms of pitching that we've seen in a while, and it continues to show up every single week we talk through this. It's Joey this week. It'll be someone new next week. It's something different every time, and, you know, for a league that's been trying to figure out a way to add some offense into the game, it seems like at every step, pitchers have thwarted those efforts as much as they can, of course. But I think you all kind of hit on it. It's pitchers, it's teams that are in races because of pitchers. It's been that sort of start to the year. And I'm interested to see where it goes. But let us move into 7th inning stretch. And usually what we do here is there's 7 questions. I award 1 point for each question based on answers. I decided 1 point wasn't enough. We've got a scoreboard. I can add or subtract as many points as I want as you're making your arguments for this. Same deal, though. 7 questions. Everyone's going to get to go here. We got a lot to talk about, whether it's no-hitters or the Twins or knowledge of rules. We got everything going here. So let's not delay. Hopefully you get to watch this because it's fun watching the scoreboard go up and down, I'm sure. But we're going to have some fun with this. So let's jump right into it. 7th inning stretch, inning 1. This week, as Joey mentioned, we did see two pitchers throw no-hitters, John Means of the Orioles and Wade Miley of the Reds. A multi-part question, which no-hitter was more impressive? Who throws the next one, which you will all inevitably get wrong? And what's up with all the no-hitters this year? And a bonus question here. Your thoughts on drop third strikes, considering John Means's perfect game was ruined by a dropped third strike. We will start with Scott.
Hello.
Hello.
So, first off, the drop third strike rule. I don't have a problem with it. I know that it was obviously, like you said, it was a big thing this past week because that cost someone a perfect game. But I honestly, I think it has a place in the game. I think it has a use. And the only reason that anyone growing up, I never heard anybody complaining about the drop third strike rule and how stupid it was. It's just that a perfect game was kind of ruined for it. So obviously that sucks, but I still think that it's a valuable rule. And sure, the next no hitter is going to be Spencer Turnbull. That's easy. Top 20 pitcher in baseball, by the way. So the more impressive one, I think I'm going to go with Wade Miley. Like the Means one, it was pretty much a perfect game. So like I know that's not going to be like a popular take, but like Wade Miley's pace was ridiculous. Like, and I know that that's not even like, oh, that means he was better or whatever, but it was just fun. He literally like it was catch, set, wind up, throw. It was honestly, it was pretty wild to watch. And then like the thing after the game, like why, like, how the hell did you throw a no hitter? Oh, I had like the Hulk like tattoo thing from his son. Like that was adorable. And also means nothing to how impressive it was, but I don't care. So yeah, I think, is that answering everything? Yeah. Spencer Turnbull, that should win me the round, to be honest with you. And yeah, so there you go.
Spencer Turnbull, your propaganda towards him has been helpful for me as I have him on multiple fantasy teams. So you can have the extra points there for that.
Thank
Joey,
you.
What you got?
Yeah, so my thoughts on the drop third strike rule are actually pretty similar to Scott's. I think that, obviously baseball is a team game. So everybody needs to do their job in order for things to go well. The pitcher throws the ball, the catcher catches the ball. It's in, the name of his job. And if he can't catch the ball, then, he deserves to have repercussions for that. I acknowledge the argument like, oh, the pitcher's so bad that, the catcher couldn't even catch it when this batter swung and missed on it. To me, that just means it could have been super filthy. So, that's my thoughts on the drop third strike rule. As for which no hitter was more impressive, I just have to go with John Means. I mean, he was dominant. I mean, he made the Mariners look like, bad hitters, which, they probably are at the major league level, but he just made them look completely clueless at the plate. His changeup is just absolutely mystifying. It's got one of the best run values in baseball. But I do have to credit Wade Miley for starting that game. I think it was like an 83-minute rain delay. I have to give him credit for, staying ready, staying mentally focused, and going out there and shutting down another bad offense, which seems to be a theme with the no-hitters this year and last year. And also, I think I'm right with this, but I think it's going to be Trevor Rogers throwing the next no-hitter for the Marlins. He's off to a really hot start. His stuff is disgusting. He's been a top 100 guy. In prospect wise, and I mean, he just is so fun to watch. So Trevor Rogers is my pick. It's definitely right, and I just don't know who else it would be.
Trevor Rogers is actually a great pick there. I'll be honest. Scott will tell you it's Spencer Turnbull. Callie, what you got?
Baseball is a game of push and pull. If you're doing something, you have to be willing to take the risk of something else happening. If you choke up on the bat, you have to accept less potential for hitting a home run. And if you throw a pitch way outside the strike zone in order to try and get a swing and miss, you have to be ready to try and block it or accept the repercussions of it being a passed or wild pitch and the batter being able to get to third base or first base. As for which start is more impressive, which start left a bigger impression on me, it's got to be Wade Miley, and it's not leaving an impression in a good way. When I see Wade Miley is throwing no-hitters, that tells me something. Hey, something's gone wrong. The league overcorrected with the ball. They need to change something. I saw a stat that said it was something like Miley only threw 7 pitches above 90 miles per hour in his no-hitter. That cannot happen in this day and age. Something's gone horribly wrong with this offensive environment, and it needs to be counteracted. I would not be surprised if the league overreacts and brings back the old ball after the All-Star break. As for who's going to throw the next no-hitter, there are 2 names going around my head, but I'm only going to choose one. Christian Javier, and I say that because the A's offense, it's prone to having some very easy outs in it. If you got Elvis Andrus, who has a WRC plus of 25 last I checked. You got Vimael Machit, who can fill in at second or shortstop if Andrus isn't up to it, and he has a WRC plus of -10 last I checked. Add in Tony Kemp, whose career on base percentage is hovering around 300, and they can line up 3 very easy outs for you. And the Astros, they're setting up to play a 3-game series against the A's real soon. So that'll be one to watch. That'll be something to see if Javier can do it, because he's a very good pitcher, and that A's offense prone to cold.
We're getting better at guessing these, I think, because we're starting to get closer and closer to more random names. Not that Trevor Bauer and Christian Javier are necessarily random names, but we're doing better.
Turnbull.
Okay,
Really?
Spencer Turnbull, whatever.
Thank you. Yeah.
We're getting better than picking aces at the staff like we did the first week. So I appreciate those answers. After question 1,
it's so random a White Sox can do it.
You know what? I like this new game.
Just went from first to last. That's great.
Scott had 8 points. He now has 5. Callie in the lead with 8. Joey with 7 after question 1. Here we go. Inning 2. The Angels announced this week that Albert Pujols was designated for assignment. Pretty shocking news, to be honest. Just the time of day which it happened, it felt like it came out of nowhere. Is it that surprising of a move, though? Was the timing right? As I mentioned, it was a little random. And will Pujols get picked up by another team, or have we seen the last of this surefire Hall of Famer? We will start with the leader, Callie.
You say join another team. You never specified it had to be an MLB team. Pujols is going to go international, no doubt, whether it be KBO, Japan, Australia, pull a Hanley Ramirez, maybe the Mexican leagues. It's going to happen. He's just too big of a name. He just has too much pride, too much passion for the sport for it to not happen. As for if the time was right, just look at his numbers and it was way overdue, especially with guys like with the guy they have playing first base right now. I forget his name.
Jared Walsh.
Kept thinking Tyler Ward, my bad. Jared Walsh, he's great. The Angels have had guys that could play ahead of Pujols, but didn't, because Pujols was just too big a name, too much pride to not sit on the bench. If you read the news, that's what got him kicked off. He was released. He wasn't willing to be a bench player, and I think it's, he earned the right to not want to be a bench player due to what he did with St. Louis.
It's actually a good point you bring up. It's being a bench player was kind of what led to this. Scott.
So Callie used the words like how much passion and pride he still has for the game. I call it delusion. I think it's absolutely ridiculous. This is so far overdue. He literally said out loud to the world, if he wasn't playing at a major league level before at any point in his Angels contract, he would retire early. He had like a -2 WAR in a full season like 3 years ago, bro. What are we doing? Like, he is so. It's not like oh, this is And the people that are like, oh, like the Angels did him a disservice. They didn't give him the graceful exit. He didn't give himself a graceful exit. I'm not saying it's his fault. People get old. People decline. That's just how it works. But like, you're not going to give a dude who's like WRC plus is the same as like, I don't know, pick a tiger. Like, that's not good, bro. Like, it's not impressive. It's not good. And it's in all these reports now coming out about how he is going after Madden because he wasn't in the lineup and he still thinks he's an everyday player and like whatever. Like it's not. Oh, like I was so good 10 years ago. You have to give me my due or whatever. Like he has been just downright bad for half of that contract. Like the last half of that contract, it's not passion or pride. It's complete just oblivion. That's what it is.
Joey.
Yeah, I feel pretty much the same. I feel closer to Scott than Callie on this one. I mean, the man simply cannot hit a baseball anymore. He was good when he was in St. Louis. He had like 88 WAR over 10 years or whatever. And then since he got to Los Angeles, he has like 13. To Anaheim. I know there's some people that care a lot about that, not me, but I know there are some people that do. But yeah, the man simply cannot play the game of baseball anymore. I guess I'm a little bit surprised because I figured that they'd find some way to get him to the end of this contract, like a David Ortiz kind of, farewell tour in the last half of the season. But he obviously didn't want that for himself, so I don't really feel bad for him. As for if he's going to go to another team, I mean, I can see like the Marlins or the Orioles or, a very bad team who could use, 10 home runs over the rest of the year maybe and a couple of dollars and, some people coming out to see old man Pujols before he finally hangs him up. Or either that or he'll go to the Rays and he'll be, an all-star next year. So it's one of the two. There's no in between. But I also like the idea of him playing internationally. That's actually a very good point.
I was just really worried that as soon as he got released, I'm like, oh my God, he's coming to the White Sox.
Oh, it's happening.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's too good to be true. There's no way it happens.
The only reason
Andrew on for him.
The only reason I don't think it happens is because Tony La Russa himself said he doesn't have a place on this team. Like if Rick Hahn said it, or heck, even Jerry said it, like I would not. Already. Yeah, I'd be like, it's a done deal. Like he's on the south side. He's playing center field tomorrow. It's fine. But I think you all kind of hit on some good points. He kind of has earned his way out of that contract by wanting to be a starting player. Like if you were willing to go gracefully and accept your at-bats, take your little tour like Ortiz did, that's one thing. If you're demanding starting time and you're hitting like you were and you're a liability in the field, like that's not going to – you don't get to continue to play just because of the pedigree. So I kind of agree with all of you.
But it's not like the Angels are going to compete this year.
Well, if you have aspirations to compete, like you have to make moves as if you're going to compete. I actually commend them for doing that in that sense. If you have aspirations to compete, right?
They're much better off getting Jared Walsh a couple hundred plate appearances this year than wasting him on.
So
it's so much more valuable. It's like seriously, WAR doesn't do it justice. How much more valuable he's going to be at first base than Pujols, defensively, offense, everything, and literally everything.
So, I mean, as long as you're coming into the season saying we want to compete, that's great. Then you got to make moves that align with that, and I think that's certainly one of them for the Angels. Inning 3. The struggling Mets fired Chili Davis this week as the Mets ranked 25th in team hitting, according to Fangraphs. Is this just a scapegoat situation for a team struggling offensively early? Granted, they are 16-13. Were the Mets potentially overrated, even though they are above 500? Or do you believe that a change in voice will actually help turn the Mets offense around? We will start with Joey.
Yeah, so as a Nats fan, I actually have an interesting perspective on the Mets, I think, because it feels like either the Nats go out and score like 15 to 20 runs against them, or they score 0. That being said, the Mets are probably the worst team I've ever seen for all the talent that they have. I mean, come on. Francisco Lindor, he can't hit right now. Nimmo is an on-base god. I mean, Dom Smith is a 130 WRC true talent guy. J.D. Davis is a good hitter. Jeff McNeil is, kind of more of an average old-fashioned contact guy, but he's still a good hitter. But the thing is that Chili Davis is what I wrote in my notes here is that he's a relic of a bygone era. He is one of these old-fashioned hitting coaches that preaches contact, situational hitting. And I will admit there's absolutely a place for that in today's game. But when you preach going to the opposite field and forfeit barrels because of that, then that's where it becomes a problem. They have the highest oppo percentage and the lowest pull percentage in the entire league, which I think is undoubtedly a factor of that philosophy. So I think that maybe another guy coming in here, maybe a little more in tune with the analytics today, and also would be a guy that has actually come in under the Steve Cohen, Luis Rojas regime, because Chili Davis is from he who should not be named current pitching coach of the Anaheim Angels administration in New York. So that's my take on that. I think that they could benefit greatly from a little bit more advanced embracing the metrics.
Callie?
A wise man once said, I don't know the exact quote, but he said that hitting coaches are the easiest coach to fire because nobody knows anything about hitting. Chili Davis, he wasn't a scapegoat. He was either a scape rat or a scape raccoon. That offense is too talented to not be good, and I think it's just a result of a short early season so far. I mean, Lindor, he's a perennial MVP candidate. Nimmo, like Joey said, he's great. Dom Smith has another good hitter. JD, it's a lineup full of good hitters, and their recent underperformance is not due to any pitching coach. It's due to the small sample size of the early season. No hitting coach is going to have a major effect on your player's talent level. And to pin all your hitting woes on them is foolish. Now, they can change some stuff. Like Joey said, I do think that the oppo percentage and lack of pull is something that needs to be changed. But your hitting coach isn't going to take you from a 90 WRC plus to a 110 WRC plus. If it's going to make a change at all, it's going to be a 5-point change at most.
Real quick, can we get a definition on scape raccoon?
So I believe that was a reference to Francisco Lindor's the explanation for the argument that he and Jeff McNeil were seen having.
Raccoon.
That was a very good reference. I love
that's a very good reference.
I like that a lot.
That's why we have this new system that deserves bonus points. Scott.
Yeah, I think it's absolutely a scapegoat. I don't. First off, yes, they've had many offensive struggles. I'm not going to say they're not, but they're still winning their division. Are they overrated? I mean, I don't know. I don't think so. I don't think too many people looked at that Mets roster and was like, oh, 100-win team. But I think most of them thought they were going to be a low to mid 90s win team that probably competed for, if not won, that division. And I think that they're still very much on track to do that. I don't know. I really do think it's a total scapegoat, but I completely agree with Callie in the sense that a hitting coach. Look, man, I promise you, I am if you want to ask someone if hitting coaches matter, no, they freaking don't. I promise you, bro. It is if you're trying to develop people and certain players fit a certain development style better than others, sure, that's totally fair, and you can kind of go through different people with that, but if you think a hitting coach is going to take you from a bottom of the league offense to a top of the league offense, you're tripping. And if they do that, it's not because of the hitting coach, it's just because we're 2 months into the season and we still have 100 and whatever games to play. It's not going to be because of the hitting coach. Like, it's just going to be because that the level water found its level. Like, that's really all there is to it. So yes, absolutely a scapegoat. And I feel bad because Chili Davis, like, top 5 name in baseball history.
Yeah, I think when you start talking about coaches, the pitching coach ends up being the first to go, or the hitting coach ends up being the first to go, one of those two. And it's like, at the end of the day, if you're not executing, no matter what they're telling you, it really doesn't matter. So we'll see if the Angels can turn it around. Again, they're 16 and 13. We talk like they need to turn something around. They're still finding ways to win ball games. And that's what's important at the end of the day.
Yeah. No coach could make the White Sox win the Central. Like, that's just, you know what I mean? Like,
oh, come on, Scott. You shoot yourself in the foot here.
Scott has lost himself like 7 points. Inning 4 with Joey and Callie tied for the lead currently. We'll see what the answers are on this one. This week, Tony La Russa was in headlines again. I can't believe I write these things. After not knowing the complete rules surrounding the runner on second to start extra innings, just some extra context here. If the pitcher is the runner at second base, you are allowed to have the batter in the lineup before the pitcher's spot run for the pitcher instead. That is the part of the rule La Russa and staff did not know. Is this a situation where people are just piling on La Russa simply because they do not like him? Because shouldn't the entire staff know the rule? Or is this just another example of legitimate concern about La Russa's role in the game today? I don't know why I'm starting with him.
Yep.
Scott, here we go.
It's a good choice. It's a really good choice. This hire's been hilarious since the second it happened. It has been absolutely hysterical since the day that it happened. And it's really the gift that keeps on giving. Honestly, it really just doesn't stop being hilarious. And this is just the latest act in this beautiful play that we're going to be able to witness until he retires, which truly could be never. He could be managing this team from his grave for all I know. It's truly hysterical. And my favorite part, this is true, Laz, this is truly my favorite part, was within the website, right? We have a big group chat, and obviously anytime La Russa's name is in the national headlines, I make sure everyone is aware, okay? And a couple of other White Sox writers for this website, this beautiful group of men and women we have, all the White Sox writers were saying that no one knew the rule and asked me after I made it clear, like, hey, look how stupid this dude is, and he shouldn't be managing a team. And he literally came out of Cooperstown to manage this team. And they're like, did you know the rule? And I was like, no. And they said, okay, then why are you talking? Well, because, see, I don't get paid millions of dollars to manage a baseball team. I don't know if you knew that about me. I might have been keeping it a secret with all my knowledge that I just pour out. But it's true. I actually am not a manager. I know it seems that way, again, with how smart I am, but I'm not, unfortunately. So I didn't know the rule. Because I'm not in his position, and I would like to think that if someone handed over millions of dollars a year to run a baseball club, that you would be freshened up on said rules, and that even if he didn't know, somebody in there was letting him know, like, loud enough where he could hear, which is also a problem. Like, hey, this is a rule and this is a thing. So that's where I stand.
I write these write-ups too. I put this on the tee
it's a
for you.
legitimate concern, by the way. I didn't really answer the question.
Really, it's a legitimate concern. I wasn't sure that you thought that. Joey.
Yeah, there are a lot of legitimate concerns about Tony La Russa, and I think Scott did a pretty good job of outlining most of those. But really, this is just like another manifestation of either his unwillingness or his inability to adapt to a changing game. Like, it's been, 10 years since he managed the Cardinals. And believe it or not, baseball has changed a lot since 2011 or 2010. or whatever it was. And, you know, should somebody else have known? Absolutely. I doubt, like, I find it really hard to believe that nobody knew. And I think what really happened is that nobody wanted to correct a Hall of Famer baseball person on baseball rules. I think that's really what the issue was here. Do I think people are piling on? Yeah, maybe a little bit. Do I think he deserves it? Absolutely. Because even if he didn't know that rule, he still could have just done like a regular pinch runner. So really no excuse to have your pitcher running in that situation, even if you didn't know that rule.
Callie?
Well, I think y'all are just cowards.
Oh, this will be good.
Liam Hendricks is an athlete, y'all. He played Austin rules football, a.k.a. real football. He can run. I don't see why it's a big deal. I doubt they had really. Who was Laz? You're the White Sox fan. Who was on their bench? Who really was? Was there any plus speedsters there? Who was the guy who hit behind him? Danny Mendick? He's not a good speeder.
Problem was Billy Hamilton was in the lineup. So.
All right.
Let's be honest with ourselves here.
All right, so I see the issue. Yeah. I don't think it's a major issue, especially at that point in the game. But like Joey said, the biggest red flag to me is either nobody else in the dugout knew the rule, which shows a major lack of under-preparedness by the entire coaching staff, or somebody knew the rule and they were too scared or too worried to tell Russa this rule, which is not a good sign for the clubhouse atmosphere that Russa has developed.
Yeah, and you don't have to give me any points for this, but just like on a relatively serious note, like he has made like several noticeable blunders, and he has made comments that are ridiculously like I don't want to say like just boomer takes, but like so not analytically inclined and just so like stuck in my ways from the past that if this was a solo event, if this was one event in the season, yes, I would still be crying, laughing, but it wouldn't be like, you know what I mean? It wouldn't be like a whole like thing. But because he has had numerous actual like serious, we can point to and be like, it happened against the Tigers. Literally, it happened against the ridiculous bullpen management, like historically ancient strategy of managing a bullpen, and it's happened multiple times. So I think the reason that it's a concern is because of that, not because of the solo instance. That doesn't make the solo instance any less hilarious, though.
A guy who bats Adam Eaton second in 2021 deserves very little leeway.
What about a guy who batted Adam Eaton second in 2020 and continues to make mistakes as well?
Yeah, I think we need to get noted Nationals fan Matthew Penn.
Dude, we're firing the hashtag Fire Davey back up. We're firing it back up. It never should have been fired down, honestly.
I think the biggest thing with this, just to kind of put a bow on this again, I can't believe I put this in the rundown that I created.
You're a very brave man, Laz.
Yeah, I try my best. I think the biggest thing is, when we started this, I think the initial frustration was the process. I kind of sat there. I was like, all right, he'll probably be fine. But it's very clear he's come back with, I guess, a chip on his shoulder of sorts. I don't think that's necessarily the best way to say it, but kind of saying like the way I did it is how it should be done even today. And I think you're starting to see that where, if Russa was a little more willing to adapt, I think me saying he would have been fine was probably would have been true. I think the biggest thing is he's trying to prove that managing like he did in the 2000s is what would work now. And I think we're seeing many instances in which that's not the case. With a lineup so good, even with Robert and Jimenez out, to not put your team consistently in a position to win, like it's still going to be seen very clearly. You can't just wipe away some of the decisions he makes because, you got two guys out. No, you're not putting your team in the best position to win every night. And that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Forget show. It's a manager show in the South Side.
Right. I think that's the biggest problem is that, again, you came back with a vendetta, I guess. Maybe it's vendetta, about wanting to show how to manage the game as if it's still the 2000s. I don't think it's gonna. It's not. It's not working.
I can't wait
but
for
the team is good enough
30
to come
on
overcome
this.
it. Say what?
I can't wait for the 30 for 30 on his time in Chicago.
Yeah, right. He ain't getting
can't
that.
Let's hope there's no 30 for 30 on this. Trust me.
I don't think you have to worry about that.
We'll see where this goes. But inning 5. Fact or fiction? The Minnesota Twins, who are currently 12-20, are in a world of trouble now with Byron Buxton heading to the injured list with a hip strain of some sorts, very similar to Luis Roberts' injury. Teams 12-20, they just lost their MVP caliber player. We will start with Callie. Your thoughts?
12-20? That can't be right.
The Twins are 12-20.
The record? Yeah, that's the record.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. All right, they're screwed then. I thought they were at least around 500, but no, they're screwed. Buxton was their only hitter with more than one F4. Their pitching is bottom 5 in the league. The only way I can really see them clawing out of this hole, especially now that Buxton's gone, is if Donaldson returns to his Blue Jays or A's form. Because he's only played not many games. He has less than 100 plate appearances, or if he has more, he's just at the line. They don't have the depth they did when they were the Bomba squad. They still have Cruz, but he can't power an entire offense himself. I mean, Luis Arias, he's a pest who's annoying to pitch against, but he's not going to be an MVP candidate like Buxton was. I think they're in a lot of trouble right now, especially with that pitching staff, and if it continues to be bottom 5 in the league.
Scott?
Yeah, no, honestly, I don't want this to be like cheesy, but like I feel like they were in like there were a lot of red flags before this injury. Their pitching has imploded. Like we all knew coming into this season that this was going to be a team. I mean, I can remember, Laz, when we did the AL Central like preview pod, and we talked about the Twins, how we all kind of said like this offense will carry them to great things. They will probably still make the playoffs, but when they do, the pitching will be the reason they don't win a playoff series, but it won't be so bad that it will prevent them from making the playoffs. And it has just absolutely imploded on itself. Their pitching has been horrific. And it doesn't, it's not like they're losing games, 15-12 either. Like their offense has not exactly been great, really, outside of, again, like Callie said, Buxton and Cruz. We have to remember they still have a lot of easy wins against the Tigers. So like they will at least find their level a little bit. They just played them last weekend or this weekend, rained out on Mother's Day. So we split 1-1. But I guess maybe I should just say that they should be incredibly scared if they're losing games to the Tigers. That might actually be more accurate. But yeah, I think that they have a lot of bigger problems as a whole, looking at kind of a macro version of it, than they do just like, hey, Byron Buxton's out, like we're going to be in some trouble. I think that it's a way bigger picture issue than that.
And Joey.
Yeah, I have a very similar response. I mean, the first thing I thought when I read this question is, well, are they not in trouble already? Like they're in 4th place, they're 6.5 back of Chicago, and they're only 3 games ahead of the worst team in baseball, the Detroit Tigers. They're just not in a good situation. Their run differential is actually not terrible. Their Pythagorean win-loss has them at 16-16. So they have had some pretty bad luck. As well as, this is something, I don't remember where I saw this, but they're in games in the 7-inning doubleheaders and in extra inning games. They're like 0-10 or 0-11, something stupid like that. And then they're a couple games over 500 in regular 9-inning baseball games. So they're getting pretty unlucky. Obviously, that doesn't win you games. Luck doesn't help. Hopefully for them, that will, even out a little bit. Hopefully they'll get Byron Buxton back. I don't know who they're going to have play center field. Jake Cave, I guess. He could not hit a beach ball right now. I mean, if you put him on like a little league team, that's probably the only time you'd get him OPSing over like 550. So he stinks.
As homered against the Tigers, by the way. Continue.
Yeah, well, the Tigers stink. And then, I mean, they just called up Trevor Larnach, who's supposed to be pretty good. And then they have Kirilloff and Garlick, but those guys are all corner outfielders. Those are guys that have actually been hitting this year, albeit small sample sizes, but they don't have a center fielder. And just beyond that, this is the story of Byron Buxton's career. I mean, it's just so sad. This guy, he has so much talent, so much potential. I mean, we see it. He had like 2.3 or something F4 in the first month of the season, which is just completely preposterous. And then he goes and gets hurt. So unfortunately, this is something I've kind of come to expect from him. I just feel like an MVP full season for Byron Buxton is just, it's too good to be true. And unfortunately, I don't think we'll ever be able to ever have the opportunity to see that.
At minimum, the Twins should be 13-19 because one of their losses came in some BS extra innings when they literally threw the game away when their third baseman had a throwing error on what should have been an easy inning-ending.
But I mean,
replay.
At the same time, though, their best pitcher this year has been Jay Happ, who's 38 years old, and just isn't that good. So that's a small sample size thing too. But
noted Yankee legend Jay Happ.
Yeah, they're in a lot of trouble.
Yeah, I think between some of the late inning bullpen, not management, but bullpen performance, as well as the starting pitching hasn't been all that awesome, and the offense outside of Buxton wasn't all that awesome. It feels like a lot of things are still skidding. And, teams in the AL Central right now, White Sox have a series this week with the Twins. You have to take advantage and bury them while you can because they're going to put it together in some form at some point during the season. It'll just be, is it too late at that point? So I think teams need to look at this and say, it's kind of like you're smelling blood in the water. Like, get these wins now. I think they should be worried without Buxton because, like we all said, he's having an MVP type season. And it's hopefully something you don't see prolonged and he can come back on the field and he can play and the Twins can figure themselves out. But without him, I think it's going to be very hard to do. Inning 6 as we head towards the back half here. Who had the better? Here's an easy way to win some free points. Who had the better pitchers who rake performance this week? Huascar Ynoa with his grand slam against the Nationals, or Dylan Cease with his 3-for-3 performance against the Reds? We will start with Callie.
Well, not only is it a White Sox pitcher, it's Dylan Cease, so Laz is going absolutely crazy over this. You got to go with the larger sample size, obviously. You got to go with the 3-for-3 day by Cease. Also, who was he playing against? It doesn't really matter. Braves, they play in a weak division. White Sox, they play in the best division in baseball. Every team in there is elite. So for Cease to have the day he did is just simply incredible. And he really, honestly, he's better than Ted Williams. He's better than Barry Bonds. He's better than Babe Ruth for that day alone. Honestly, that plaque better be ready by next week because he's going in Cooperstown soon. Well, I say he's going in Cooperstown soon, but he's never going to go into Cooperstown soon because in order to get into the Hall of Fame, you have to retire. And after Cease has a 40-year career as a pitcher, putting up 250 FWAR, he's going to transition to hitting and then become just incredible.
Callie earned some free points there. Scott, what are you thinking?
My answer is no. This is exactly what Matthew Penn wants. This is exactly what National League fan wants. This is absolutely ridiculous. The answer is neither, because pitchers hitting is stupid and dumb and should go away. Which one's more impressive? No. That's my answer. This should not be a thing. That the only reason that this is even a hashtag is because it happens like once a month. Some pitcher does something. They have a collective batting average of like 100, and half of it is on bunts. It's stupid. It's dumb. It's not more fun. It's not, because it's an automatic out 98% of the time. It's stupid. It needs to go away. And my answer, again, is no.
I will say, I am very pro universal DH. I had fun for one night, and then the next day when I saw Liam Hendricks have to run at second base, I quickly realized, I don't want this. This is why. That's right. Joey, what you got?
I mean, I think if anything, the fact that somebody like Dylan Cease can go 3 for 3 in an MLB game is proof that, maybe pitchers should just be better hitters. I mean, Dylan Cease hasn't hit competitively in a game since high school, and he can go out there and go 3 for 3. I mean, come on, what are we doing? Like, obviously, pitchers should just be hitting better. And I mean, Huascar, hit one of the farthest balls I've ever seen hit to dead center field at Nats Park. I mean, I watched a lot of Nats games. I mean, he hit like a Bryce Harper, Juan Soto like type distance home run. I mean, that thing was ridiculous, and it was super clutch. Unfortunately, it was off my guy Tanner Rainey, who actually kind of sucked this year. But I still think Cease
He's
is
your
more
guy, so yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, none of my guys are good this year. But yeah, definitely Dylan Cease more impressive. I mean, come on, the guy hasn't hit since high school. And the DH. What else more is there to say? Let's go. Let's do it.
I like it. Good brownie point answers. Scott, I appreciate you staying true to you. As we head to the 7th inning here, Scott with 46 points, Joey with 43, Callie with 40. It is anybody's game. We've played a month of baseball, and we've seen a lot of power rankings from week to week. We've seen them shift. We've seen some similar names at the top. We've seen some surprising names at the top. As of right now, in each of your opinions, who are the top 5 teams in baseball? We will start with Callie.
Well, number one, it should be pretty obvious to anybody. It's still the Dodgers. They just have too much talent to not be good, both on the pitching side and on the hitting side. Bellinger, he's been out since like the start of the year, really, because of that collision at first base against the A's. Sorry about that. But they've underperformed just in general, and that's not going to last because their talent level is through the roof. Next, I have the Yankees. Their pitching has been actually very surprising. Cole's been great. And the hodgepodge of players they have pitching behind him, it's not been bad. It just hasn't been stable. And it's not ideal to not have stable pitching, but I would rather have good, unstable pitching than bad, stable pitching. Just ask Scott, he can relate. Next, I have the Mets. Now, they've been just on fire pitching-wise, and that rotation, it's just killer. Unfortunately, DeGrom may be hurt, but honestly, they might be the one team that can handle a DeGrom-level injury, because they have Carrasco, they have Syndergaard coming back from injury. David Peterson, he's been all right. That offense, like I said before, is too good to not be one of the best in baseball. What's really sunk the Mets the past years has been their unreliable pitching, but that's what they have this year. And what's underperformed them so far has been their offense, and that's not going to last. I can tell you that for sure. Then I have Boston, a team that, big surprise. We didn't expect their pitching to be this good. Their offense is legit for sure, but their pitching has been the real surprise, and I think that's going to be what is going to really lead them to the playoffs. Nick Pivetta is going to win the Cy Young, obviously, no doubt about that in my mind. He's just the best. But yeah, their offense, no easy outs, no medium outs either. It's just a lot of really top tier hitters all the way down. Then I have the Chicago White Sox. The only reason I have them last is because that man in the dugout holding them back. They have one of the most underrated bullpens in baseball. They have for the past few years. Even with Jimenez and Robert out, their offense is still great. And of course, their pitching staff is incredible. Giolito, what really more can you say about him? Rondon, he's second in baseball in ERA, just behind DeGrom. He's going to overtake him soon, obviously, because he's better than DeGrom. The White Sox are going to easily win the Central this year and easily make a run to the World Series.
Good job at the end there, Callie. Get some brownie points. Joey, your top 5 teams.
Yeah, so I also have the Dodgers number 1. I mean, they're too good. They're too good not to have number 1. I feel like having any other team number 1 is just a disgrace, honestly. They're just too good, and they've got too many dudes with a capital D. Number 2 is another NL West team, and I'm about to decide which one it is. I guess I'm going to go with the Padres. I also think that they're just too good. They have too much talent. I mean, Tatis and Cronenworth hit a kayak with a baseball today in San Francisco, which is just stupid. And as much as I don't like Cronenworth because he went to Michigan. But anyway, I digress.
Yeah.
Number 3, actually, I have the White Sox. And here's the reason why. Because I truly believe that if the White Sox had hired A.J. Hinch this winter, that they would be a 100-win team. They really would. And with Robert and Jimenez healthy, which obviously they aren't, but with them healthy, I truly believe they would be a 100-win team. However, they're not, but they're still really good. Obviously, like Callie just said, they've got that offense and that pitching staff. I'm a little worried about what's going to happen here. With these injuries, I really hope Billy Hamilton doesn't play center field for them, because that makes me putting them at number 3 look really bad. But that might happen. And then 4, I have Boston. I really like their lineup, and obviously, Callie pretty much said everything there is to say about them. Nick Pivetta has just been absolutely remarkable. Garrett Whitlock is one of probably the grossest pitcher you've never heard of. And I really like Alex Verdugo. I actually think he was a really good throw-in that Heim got for Mookie Betts in that trade. And then 5, I'm going to digress a little bit. I'm going to go with the Giants at 5. This isn't really like a true talent sort of ranking, but I figured I'd probably pick somebody who's hot. The Giants are super hot. Crawford and Belt are just hitting out of their minds, which is stupid. What is it, 2012? Like, but Gosman and Cueto and that other guy, they just have random pitchers just putting up numbers. So they're pretty good. Honorable mentions go to both the New York teams, but I don't like them, so I didn't rank them.
I respect it. Scott.
This is just a complete sellout show, is what's happening.
That's not even true.
Really? Let's go over what you said. You literally said if they did 9 things, they'd be really good, and that's why they're at 3.
If they did one thing. If they did one thing.
That they didn't do. If they were healthy, and if they hired A.J. Hinch, and if both of these injuries people were healthy, they'd be really good. But none of those things are true. So they're absolutely nowhere near the top 5. That's preposterous. Number 1 is still the Dodgers. Absolutely. That talent, true talent, is just too high. They're also very deep, and that's kind of what we're seeing right now, even with all these injuries. And they have been, granted, sliding a little bit because they don't have all their star players, but we're seeing this depth. We're seeing Lux getting everyday playing time and stuff, and we're just seeing how truly talented and deep they are. The Yankees, I'm going to have at 2. They got up to a really slow start, and people were calling for sell the entire franchise or whatever, just ridiculous Yankees fans that are beyond impatient. Water's starting to find its level. They're starting to get hot again. Their bullpen has been a great surprise. Not surprise. They have dudes back there, but it's at a whole nother level of incredible. Chapman, especially, just as a whole. 3, I'm going to go back to the NL West and just go back to the Padres. That's another team, incredibly deep, incredibly talented. It's kind of wild to me that I still believe that we could see a borderline 100-win wild card team out of that division just because of how good those 2 teams are. And then I have a pretty noticeable drop off, and then 4 and 5 is where it gets really interesting. 4, to the dismay of Callie, I'm going to go with the Houston Astros. I still think that's a really good team. And their offense has just been ridiculous lately. The last couple of weeks, that offense has just been insane. One of the highest runs scored total in the league lately. Their pitching, while it wasn't their strong suit coming into the season, has obviously been good enough and been serviceable enough to not get to not shadow over the offense in a negative way. So I'm going to have them as my 4, and then my 5 is probably not going to be super popular, but I'm going to go with the St. Louis Cardinals. And I hate the St. Louis Cardinals. Anybody that knows me knows that is one of my least favorite franchises in all of sports. I despise them. And off true talent, they might not be the 5th best team in baseball. But I just think in that division, I think they're just going to keep separating themselves, and they're going to keep playing NL Central teams and keep winning a majority of them. I think that's the best team in that division. And I think when it's all said and done, we're probably going to look back. Again, they might not be the 5th most talented team, but I think they're going to win 95 and win the division. And I think that's probably a safe enough pick to have at 5. Honorable mentions, the White Sox are like 23 or something, somewhere in that range. So that'll be around where they are, just an absolute fraudulent franchise. So Tim Anderson swung at a ball that like hit the backstop. The dude can't take a walk to save his life. Ridiculous.
Very different power rankings out of all 3 of you, which I actually found very interesting. Very different ways of doing it, as well as just very different names on the list. Cardinals are actually a very surprising team. Scott, if you didn't lose so many points, you probably would have won it. But
well, I definitely would have. I only lost by 3, and I lost like 26 points or something.
Joey with the win in the inaugural new format of
seventh inning stretch. That sucking up to you. I talked up Bill and Cease. I talked up the White Sox. I talked up their bullpen. And this is how you repay me? It's nonsense! I meant none of it!
I know you didn't. That's why you didn't win. Callie, I've known you for too long. I can see the real body. So congratulations, though, to Joey. And as your prize, which is about the extent of what you get with prizes on this show, what to watch for this week, you get to lead us off. So you tell the fans, as we wrap up our show here, what you're going to be watching this week.
Yeah, so I actually have, I think, a pretty unconventional pick. I was looking at the schedule for this week, and I only saw 2 games between these teams, Monday and Tuesday. But I'm definitely going to be watching Rangers and Giants, and here's why. First of all, if you don't, the Rangers are 500, which we talked about earlier, which is incredibly surprising. If you haven't seen Adolis Garcia yet, that dude is absolutely on fire. He hit his 9th home run of the season today. They've just got so many fun guys to watch. Joey Gallo bunted for a hit against the Shift today, which, bunting, but yay, getting hits, I guess. But also Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, who I wrote an article about last week, has been really hot. He's going to be one of the best shortstops in the league this year, next year, and going forward. And then the Giants pitching staff, like we talked about, and then Crawford and Bell are super hot. So it's really just 2 pretty hot teams. One I think is clearly more talented than the other. But I think the Rangers could surprise the people and take 2 from a first place team this week.
I was gonna say Kiner-Falefa was a little bit of a pest when the Sox played him. He's a good little ball player. I did not realize that. He's been around for a while. I did not realize how good of a ball player he's become.
Yes, because
that'll be a fun matchup. Yeah, they stuck him at catcher, and
he's a Gold Glove caliber shortstop that they are catching. Instead, it's over at Elvis Andrews playing shortstop over Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. Just sacrilege. But
no, that'll be a good matchup. I agree. So, Scott, what are you watching this week?
So my biggest games, Yankees-Rays is just always super fun whenever it's on. So that's going to be pretty high on my list. Probably some decent pitching matchups in there. That's just always a really fun one. The Rays always, I don't want to say play up because I feel like that's disrespectful to the Rays and how good they've been, but like you get the point. The other one, Twins-White Sox, is honestly like that's I feel like outside of the AL Central, people don't really realize that that's kind of a big rivalry and like has been for 20 years. I feel like outside people that aren't fans of AL Central teams don't really acknowledge that rivalry as a pretty darn good one. So that'll be up there again. Some on paper good pitching matchups. But we've talked about the Twins pitching woes already, and then I had another one. Clearly, it wasn't as good. Oh, Angels Astros is always another really good one. That they're not too fond of each other. No one's really fond of the Astros these days, obviously. But interdivision, Angels, trying to get back on track and get kind of to the at least mid pack of that really competitive for some reason division. And yeah, Houston is obviously it's kind of always fun when anyone that has to play the Astros that doesn't like the Astros, whenever that game happens, it's always usually a riot. So those are my biggest three. And then honestly, if you just want to see like the worst product you've ever seen in your life and just like see how bad a team can really get, just watch Tigers versus whoever they play. I think it's Royals and Cubs this week.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, like just if you want to like feel better about your team, you could literally be a Pirates fan. If you want to be or a Rockies fan, if you want to feel better about your team and like, man, like after watching that, I'd really feel better about the state my team is in. Just flip on the Tigers for like 3 innings. That's usually all it takes, and you'll feel better about yourself. So
I will say that outside of the sad stuff going on in Detroit these days, Twins White Sox is a good temperature check for both teams. Just both a little banged up, injury wise. Both in some cases, some more than others, underperforming what expectations were. Kind of get a good gauge of where everyone's at. I think it's an important one, especially for the Sox if they're trying to separate themselves from the Twins, because every game is going to matter. Burying them early is going to be important. So.
for sure.
Last but certainly not least, Callie Tsai, what are you watching this week?
I had one, but I'm gonna have to ignore it. I'll tell you it quickly. Sean Manai, he worked a perfect game into the 8th last time he pitched. Keep an eye on him for when next starts. But what I'm really interested to see, Dylan C starts tomorrow. So tomorrow, on the day we're recording this, it's going to be the day this comes out. I'm very excited to see him give up 10 runs without recording a single out against
Callie, just remember that next time you're on this, I will certainly remember.
That is not where I thought that was going.
I had a feeling it was, but
Incredible.
Can I just say I'm impressed we made a whole baseball podcast in 2021 without talking about Shohei Ohtani.
I was gonna say, like, he is a consistent. He's been a consistent top.
I mean, I think that we're just like used to him like having an ERA under 3 and an OPS over 900 at this point, which is just so ridiculous.
Unreal, man. It's unreal.
I love that guy, man.
I tell all of my friends that aren't like super into baseball, I tell like I chew their ear off about him, man. Like he is so good for baseball and what he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
People that aren't as invested in the sport as us don't really have a concept of how truly ridiculous and insane what he's doing is, and like we've never seen it before and may never see it again. Just he's unreal. It's literally history every time he does everything. It's truly unreal.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Look at Mr. Socialite over here bragging about having such a large friend group. He has friends that aren't into baseball.
I will say though, I think we have become desensitized to this point. Because what he does consistently is incredibly impressive. It's a pain to pitch to him, and it's a pain to hit against him. And not too many guys ever will be able to say that. He's certainly impressive, and he's certainly someone that, we might not mention it every week, but you get a chance to watch Shohei Ohtani play baseball, you should probably take it.
Yeah, especially if Jared Walsh comes up in the bottom of the 9th in the same game. That's usually a recipe for success.
I'm muting you. That's gonna do it for us, baseball fans. Another great episode here. Plenty to talk about, plenty to watch this week. And as usual, we'll have plenty of content coming out this week. If you're watching this, check out the little ticker below that's there to help me remember where all of our stuff can be found. At the website, diamond-digest.com. Make sure to find out where all our talented writers are and what they're talking about and what they're writing about. Twitter at diamond_digest. Instagram diamond.digest. We've got content everywhere, and we think you're going to love it, and we certainly hope you do. So, for that guy that I can't believe I let on, again, Scott Bentley, for Joey Bohley, today's winner, and Callie Tsai, today's big liar, apparently. This is Jordan Lazowski signing off. Take care, everyone. Enjoy your week, and we'll talk to you, as always, next week. Take care. We'll see you soon.